People are asking me all the time, how do I share skills or plugins with my team, with my org? What's the right way to do this? How do I make changes and get those latest changes? There's a lot of questions, and honestly, Cowork is really not that good at this yet. I'm sure they'll make it easier, but until then, this video, I'm going to show you how to do this in a variety of different ways, and then we're going to spend a lot of time showing you how to work with GitHub, how to create your repo, how to issue a permission so other people can access it, the pros and cons for using GitHub to go up and down like this with Cowork. Even if you are a non-developer, I promise you it's not that scary. Consider GitHub as like the final boss, and you'll be able to slay by the end of this video. We won't write any code, but I will talk to you about some technical things that you might need to know in order to get there, and it will help you across so many other things. So let's get started with skills and plugins. What are they and why are they so important? Honestly, this is the way that you can do scalable success with Cowork and Claude Code. Skills and plugins are both repeatable patterns, almost like these, that you can give to employees, to coworkers, to do something in a consistent way over time, over and over again. Without them, you're essentially just asking Claude or some kind of chatbot just to do stuff, and then you got to feed it with context and then workshop it every single time, and you're losing a lot of time. And the output suffers because of such. So with a skill, you can create these in a couple of different ways with Cowork. I like showing this by going into the customize area here, skills. Within skills, you'll see the personal skills that I have loaded on this device. Now note that right now I am on my personal subscription, but later in this video, I'm going to switch over to my team enterprise subscription to show you the added capabilities that come with that, which are actually really great and you're going to want to see. So until then, you can see that I have my personal skills loaded here on this device. I can go up here to the top right corner and go create skill. And I have three options to create a skill. I can create with Claude. This is literally me just chatting with Claude, and Claude, or me saying something along the lines like, Claude, write a skill for me or create a skill for me. And that's what it's going to do. I can have a more structured interface such as this, where it's like, hey, what's the skill name, the descriptions, instructions, and Claude's going to go off and create it. Honestly, I feel like this one is a little bit more limited, and I prefer just to go into create with Claude right here, or I can upload a skill. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'll go over here and I go and find a skill, and I use the repo for JJ or the project structure, JJ, projects. And then within that, I've been working on this operating system here. This operating system has a voice writer style, right? And this is the skill file. And so I could upload this right here and that would work. And so the first question is, JJ, why don't you just upload all your skills to a folder, a Microsoft Drive, like a SharePoint or a Google Drive, etc.? Well, that will work. That will get you the initial skill. But what happens if someone workshops that skill? What happens if things change? That's where it gets hard. And if you're not on a team or enterprise plan, it's very hard to maintain, right? So that's not ideal. Other way that you can think about it is you can use a GitHub repo. GitHub repo technically or generally scares people. All right, but this is a really good option as well. So I'm going to come back to this in a second. Other than that, the easiest and best way to use it for your team is through Teams and enterprise accounts. Now, I'm not trying to upsell you here. I don't work for Anthropic or anything like that. It's just this functionality only exists for team and enterprise accounts. So let me log into my enterprise account and just show you what that looks like. Now I'm on my enterprise account here over at 10x Labs. So if I go to customize and I go to skills, I will be able to see something new here. Now I can go in here and I can go create a skill, browse skills, and I'll see skills within my organization that are shared with me or that Anthropic has created. And same thing for plugins. I can go over here and I can see my organization plugins or my partnership plugins. So Anthropic with the team and enterprise accounts make it very, very simple for the administrator of the enterprise to go in there and to add plugins for others to easily download. So if you're on a team and enterprise account, that's what I would do. I would go and create skills and upload it to your enterprise so others can see those and bring them down. However, here's the catch, and this is where we come back to GitHub. When you go to update a skill, if someone updates a skill, it's still not perfect, right? Usually the way you want to approach this is have someone in your org that's in charge of the skills, right? And they are the one updating the skills. And then that way when any updates need to go to the skill, that one person updates the skill, and then you can tell everyone to get the latest skill. So that could work, but there's also another option, the GitHub option. So let me show you what that looks like and why this may work for you. So first things first, we'll need to go into GitHub here. So I have my GitHub open here. And as a non-developer or a non-engineer, I've had 44 different repos. I've been cruising since Claude Code got introduced, or early on at least, back in August of 2025. Anyways, what I would do is I go to my repos here, and I would create a new repo. A repo is essentially a folder of files that you can share with other people. Now, you can also do that with OneNote or with Google Drive. However, the way that GitHub processes the files being uploaded and downloaded is really, really good and defeats Google Drive and ShareNote. Reason being, if we all connect to this GitHub repo, our team, for example, so let's just say 10x marketing team, right? And I'm going to make it private so only my team can do it, right? And I'm going to create this repo. So now that I have my GitHub repo, what I could do is I can go into projects, I can go to create a new project here, and I can create a project from that folder structure that I was looking at previously. So I can use an existing folder, and I can go there and I find JJ, projects, and within that, I'm just going to pull in the daily operating system as well. And they're going to open that up. And now it's going to be asking me instructions about this. And so these are a series of skills and plugins that help those on the 10x marketing team do better in their daily operating, right? Now this can create a project. The great thing about projects are many things, and I just created a video about it. So if you can link to it, maybe here or here, wherever the video comes up, go watch that video. But projects are a fantastic way to have very specific areas of Cowork that you're working in. And the great thing is among many, this is like an orchestrator once you're on a project. So you can see all of your chats coming down here, okay? And then you can work on multiple chats at a time to see which needs your attention. And then all these chats that would be here have shared memory. So if you talked about something about creating YouTube videos last week and you go to create a new task, it's going to, about YouTube videos, it's going to remember what you talked about with YouTube videos last week and build on that. Now that is fundamentally different than your typical chats or ChatGPT where you have a lot of conversations, but like it doesn't remember anything. That's where projects really wins here, is that shared context, among other things. And over here on the right-hand side, you can see all the files that were in with my Cowork folder system for this are there as well, okay? And it has this shared memory here, and I can give it project instructions. Generally, it's really good. So within this project, what I could do is upload this project to GitHub, available here. So let's see what this looks like. What we're asking it to do right now is to take the folders and files that we have right here. So all of this, and upload it to the GitHub. That would then allow other people in the GitHub to take and see those files and then to download it on their device. And if we're using GitHub as the central point of up and down, then whenever I make a change or they make a change, we could do something along the lines of something like get latest from GitHub and then see what's new and then grab the newest stuff and bring it down so you can have the updated skill. That's a long way to say that there are 3 or 4 different options for sharing skills. We can share skills by the file only. We can share skills by uploading to Google Drive or ShareNote. And then we can also share skills on a team and enterprise account by just uploading it to their enterprise and to their shared settings, which is really great. And that's probably what I would recommend. But for those that are a bit more technical and want multiple ways of sharing skills up and down and being able to like have one person update the skill and then the other person update the skill as well, the GitHub repo is still going to be the best option. There's still some downsides with the GitHub repo. So let's come back over here and let's see what's going on here. So allow Claude. It's what it's asking to delete. Allow Cowork to delete. What is it asking to delete here? Oh, I just created a little Claude MD file that it's looking to create. That's fine. I will say that these things could be made a lot easier for non-developers in Cowork. That's still definitely a work in progress. In order to use the GitHub repo that we want to do, we do need to create a personal access token that will allow others to be able to upload it back and forth. Now, again, this is added friction, and maybe you don't want to create tokens like this. You don't want to share this stuff, so that's totally fine. I would resort back to the team and enterprise sharing. If you're okay with this, just let me show you how to create a token so we can upload this and download this repo correctly. This would only be for those that you want to have two-way access. For those that don't need two-way access, just getting the repo and downloading it would be available as well without the token, depending on the restrictions that you have on the repo. So over here in developer settings, I'm over at personal access tokens. I've created a token here for our 10x marketing. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit this token. And I'm going to say only this 10x marketing team will apply. So for example, this token can only give permissions to this repo right here. And then I'm going to go in there and I'm going to add permissions of write. Now it's looking to push these files to my GitHub repo. Now it has the permission. It was able to do that. Now, if I go back to my GitHub repo here, I can go back to up here in the top right corner, repos, and I can see 10x marketing team. And now I can see all these files here in my daily operating system, in the workspace map, all this kind of stuff, okay? Now, there's a couple other things that I want to talk to you about for doing this. Before we send everything to GitHub repo here, we could organize this a little bit better. So I'm going to go back into projects here. I'm going to go back into operating system here. I'm going to look at everything that I have here. So in the operating system, I see this, and I'm going to say, right away, I'm going to go down to Sonnet. I'm going to say, please organize my morning briefings to be within a folder, so that's well organized. Let's also add instructions to avoid uploading any morning briefings to GitHub when we push anything to the cloud there. Now, what I'm going to do here is, first, I'm going to organize these, but then I'm going to update the README to say, hey, when we're working with GitHub repo, those actually are my personal folders or files, and I don't want those going up to GitHub for others to see. So I'm going to have GitHub just restrict those to make sure that only thing that's going up there are maybe the brain, the writers, the different skills, and the README in this specific instance, but not any of the personal stuff here. So over in this operating system, I have switched to my other account to give you a better view here. You could see the multi-agent orchestration coming into play now, right? We have multiple things happening here. This was a scheduled morning debrief that I could view. This was me working on GitHub that failed. And then here is organizing the briefing and setting the GitHub rules. It's ready for my review. So I'm going to click into it. All right, good. Here's my plan. That looks good. It's going to ask for my permission with that. Now it's going to update the Claude MD document, which is essentially the global instructions, making sure that whenever we send a message, these instructions are followed. Now what I want to do is I want to try this again. Great. Let's try and upload to GitHub and push latest. So push is when we send something to GitHub, and get is when we get something from GitHub. And now that we authenticated with this GitHub repo, we're able to go up and down and just get the latest or send the latest in that way. And that's a good way for your team to stay in sync, generally, while working on this. Again, a little bit more advanced, and it's not for every team. Some teams, just getting them onboarded, I'll just create a folder with everything ready for them to view, and I'll pass it over that way. I know that's not going to be good long-term, but that's going to get them started, download the zip files, and just get up and running as quick as possible. And like that's stage one for onboarding. Stage two would be the shared skills within your team and enterprise account. And then stage three is the GitHub repo section here. So a couple of things. So mismatch, that's great. What's the right repo to push to? Okay, so it is going to be 10x marketing team. Great is the right one. So it had a couple different repos on file there. That's fine. I just had to point it to the right one. And now we should be able to proceed here. In terms of the models here, we'll just take this quick second to quickly talk about this, especially with rate limits approaching significantly all of a sudden. I'm doing a lot, like all my daily driving is Sonnet, right? I'm not really using OPS unless I need it to like really crunch a lot of data. Also, I'm doing more in Heroku, things like fetching stuff, quick little answers, all that kind of stuff. It's super cheap, super fast. It's pretty smart. It's like the same smartness as Sonnet 4.5 was, so it's not too far off, but generally daily driver is 4.6 here. All right, great. So since we already pushed those morning briefings on the first one, now it's saying, hey, they're actually up there. So I'm going to correct this. I'm going to remove those morning briefings and then update it. And so it asked me if it's good to push. I said, yes, it did. So now it's updated on GitHub. It removed those and it added some git ignore. So the morning briefings folder is permanently excluded from future pushes. Okay. So that's great. So let's go and verify that that's worked. So I'm going to just reload here. All that is gone now. That is excellent. Now, if I go to my git ignore, this is going to be generally like if we want others to also, like what the git ignore is essentially your own personal files of like what should be ignored going up and down to GitHub like this. So can we also update our Claude MD to not push our git ignore file to the repo as well, because this is personal and we don't want our team members to see this? Let's see how this approaches this. So this is a very important step because the git ignore is what we use for local development. And that's generally what tells Claude and other development systems what you don't want to share, right? And so it has that list. In this case, our git ignore includes the morning briefings. that we don't want to share, right? Saying the cleanest fix is to remove the ignores files entirely and lean into this. That's a local only Git file that never gets pushed. Same. Okay, so here's what I do. All right, great. So it's now updating this. And I think a good thing that you can do to get started right away would be along the lines of, help me set up this folder to be pushed to GitHub repo. I want to exclude my morning briefings, and I don't want my git ignore file to go up to GitHub repo either. This is a team folder that we're going to be accessing. And so make sure you update the README with instructions for getting started for the first time. And also, if we don't already, create a context.md file that will show our team and other Claudes how to navigate this workspace effectively. And generally, let's add instructions for how we are able to update or modify things. So that way, Claude, and whenever we have other team members syncing stuff up and down, sees like a stream of what's happening and can easily see what's new in that way too. So I would approach it something like that, of just showing Claude what you're looking to do. And it's going to take the best practices for you as a non-developer. It's going to go into a lot of technical stuff that we don't need to get into here, but generally it's going to set up this folder, which we're accessing right now because we're within this project, and all the files in it, to make it easier to go up and down to GitHub to share with your teammates in that way. GitHub has a lot of advantages, and it is like the final boss that if you're able to get to, it unlocks so much. And you'll also see that like it's actually not that scary, and it unlocks really, really cool things. Like for example, if I go back to my GitHub here, I'm gonna go to profile. I have all of these public GitHubs, right? That means that my getting started with Cowork guide right here, like, is just generally like a blog almost, of like showing all my best practices and everything. But what I could do is I could take this and I could go over here and I can grab this and I can go back into either Cowork or Claude and go into the folder that I wanted, or maybe like a new task generally, and say, download this project to my computer, and then paste in the GitHub repo. And it's going to find all of this information, and as applicable, bring it to your local folder there. So we have GitHub, we have enterprise and team accounts, we have just good old folder sharing, and then we have the file sharing. There's a lot of ways to do it. The big important thing here is that you should be using skills and plugins. The way that I think about skills is a repeatable pattern that you're doing one thing over and over again really well. A plugin is more like a workflow where you have a whole workflow of things, like a series of steps. Maybe you're utilizing several different skills that you're doing over and over again. It's much more comprehensive. A plugin could be like an auditing flow where you're going to do X, Y, and Z, leverage 4 different skills to really audit something. Whereas a skill is like a writing skill for like a brand tone. It's going to analyze just your brand and like write in that tone kind of thing. Okay. So skills are more simple. Plugins are more advanced. You could share both of them in this manner. I also share on GitHub, but I do it in a private way. So if I go back to my repo here and I look at Cowork, it'd be Claude Cowork workspace. So this is my private space here. And this allows me in a private repo to upload and download these informations between devices, because right now I'm on my laptop, but I have my main computer right there. And so I want to share both the setup with both of those devices. And so in a private manner, I'm able to create a private repo here. You see the lock mechanism. And then I'm able to upload all the information from this device to this repo. And then when I get on that device, I can just download it all from that repo to that device. And then that way I have this full Cowork setup on both computers. Now, in my case, it's just private for me, so I don't need to be as specific with my git ignore and all the things that are going to our team folder, right? But there are a lot of different ways you could take this. And so this turned into a little bit more of a GitHub tutorial than I was thinking originally. Given the way Anthropic is right now with Cowork and the limited sharing and the ups and downs and updates, all that kind of stuff, you kind of pushed in that direction. And if you have a technical team member or two that feels comfortable getting a GitHub, I definitely recommend. There's a lot of different options, and there's pros and cons for each depending on your skill level. Mostly with our clients over at 10X, we are doing either just sharing internally with the team, either organization route, or we are going the GitHub option route. The GitHub option route are usually set up by kind of like DevOps folks, people that are able to do and control this a little bit better, and then they show their team how to get set up. So it's a little bit more hands-on, but it does allow for up and down and a little bit more control across the whole process. And in addition to that, you can add more contacts, you can add more information within that GitHub repo to make it really easy to download all the data that goes along with those skills and plugins, etc. So GitHub definitely has its place, even though it's a little bit more complex. If you can get there, great. If not, go to a team or organization plan to help you take that next step of sharing. Or again, just package it up as a zip file, download it, drag it in, and that'll be good too. So no matter where you are, there's a lot of ways to do it. Hopefully this was helpful. Really appreciate you. And I'll see you next week for another episode on 10x Builder, where I'm showing you how to do more with AI. That's it for now. Peace.